Your words are either building your authority or destroying it. Every single time you open your mouth, something is happening to the way people perceive you. Either they are leaning in or they are tuning out. Either your credibility is growing or it is quietly eroding. Either you are becoming the kind of man whose words carry genuine weight, or you are becoming background noise in rooms that needed your leadership. Most men never think about this. They do not sit down and ask themselves what is actually happening when I speak. They do not consider the invisible transaction that occurs every time they open their mouth in a room full of people who are watching, listening, and forming conclusions about them in real time. They speak reactively. They fill silence because silence feels uncomfortable. They repeat opinions they absorbed from somewhere else because developing their own requires more work. They speak quickly because slow feels like weakness. They avoid hard truths because hard truths feel like conflict. They qualify everything because certainty feels dangerous. They apologize before statements that require no apology. They hedge before claims they actually believe, and then they wonder why nobody truly listens. They wonder why their words do not command the respect they believe they deserve. They wonder why they are present in the room but somehow not felt in it. They wonder why people nod politely but do not actually move. Why conversations seem to happen around them rather than because of them. The answer is not complicated, but it requires a level of honesty that most men are not fully prepared to sit with. You have not learned how to speak with authority yet. Not real authority. Not the kind that does not need volume to be felt. Not the kind that makes people lean forward when you finally open your mouth. Not the kind that builds a reputation so solid that your silence carries as much weight as your words. That kind of authority is not a personality trait. It is not something you either have or you do not have. It is not reserved for men who were born with deep voices or natural confidence or the right family name. It is not luck. It is not charisma in the genetic sense. It is built deliberately, consistently, through a specific set of principles that most men were never taught and never went looking for. And that changes today. Because what I am about to share with you are not suggestions, not communication tips for a better morning meeting, not a list of tricks to seem more interesting at dinner parties. These are 5 laws. The kind that once understood and truly applied will change the way you are perceived in every room you enter, in your family, among your peers, in every relationship and every environment where your presence and your words either build something or quietly cost you something. These are the 5 laws of the resonant gavel. If you are choosing to be the man who commands, comment the word command below. If you are just making noise, keep scrolling. 1. The man who says less makes every word hit harder. Learn to make your silence louder than other men's noise. Watch the man who talks too much. He is in every room, every family gathering, every meeting, every conversation. He has an opinion before the question is finished. He has an answer before the problem is understood. He fills every silence with sound because silence makes him uncomfortable, and discomfort for him is something that must be immediately corrected. Watch how people listen to him. They listen with their eyes and not their ears. They wait politely for him to finish the way you wait for a commercial to end. His words land and immediately evaporate. They leave no residue, no weight, no lasting impression. And he cannot understand why. He spoke the most, he contributed the most sound, he was present and vocal and engaged, and yet somehow he was the least heard person in the room. Here is why. Words like currency derive their value from scarcity. Think about what happens to money when a government prints too much of it. The supply increases, the value per unit falls. What once bought something meaningful now buys nothing at all. The same principle governs every word that leaves your mouth. A man who spends money carelessly on things that do not matter signals to everyone around him that he does not understand value. A man who spends words carelessly, on thoughts that are not fully formed, on filler and noise, and the verbal equivalent of nervous energy signals exactly the same thing. He does not understand the value of what he is spending, and people stop treating his words as valuable because he himself is treating them as cheap. The great Roman philosopher and statesman Cicero, one of the most powerful orators in the history of human civilization, understood this with complete clarity. He said that a room is silenced not by the man who speaks the most, but by the man who speaks with the most precision. Precision is not about using complicated language. It is not about crafting perfect sentences before you speak. It is not about sounding educated or impressive or deliberately mysterious. It is about stripping everything away that does not serve the point, the filler words, the verbal tics, the unnecessary qualifications, the repetition that adds length without adding weight, the apologies at the beginning of statements that should need no apology. Every is a crack in your foundation. Every you know is a signal that you are not sure of what you are about to say. Every I mean or sort of or kind of is a small but measurable reduction in the authority of whatever comes after it. Strip them out, not all at once, not perfectly from the first day, but with the deliberate and consistent intention of a man who understands that every word he speaks is either adding to his reputation or subtracting from it. There are no neutral words. When you speak, every word is a choice, and every choice either increases or decreases the weight of everything that follows. Here is the deeper truth beneath this law. The men who have historically commanded the most respect in any room were not the ones who said the most. They were the ones who made you feel, when they finally did speak, that something real was about to happen. They trained the people around them through consistent behavior. They spoke selectively. They spoke precisely. And over time, that pattern became a reputation. People begin to wait for your words. They begin to give your silence the same attention they give your speech. Because you have taught them through consistent behavior that when you open your mouth, something worth receiving is coming. That is what it means to make your silence louder than other men's noise. Not absence, not withholding, but the kind of earned quiet that a room feels before you speak, because you have taught that room through months and years of discipline that what comes next will be worth receiving. That is the economy of truth, not silence for its own sake, but the deliberate intentional practice of making every word earn its place before it is spoken. Start today. Before your next conversation, ask yourself one question. Does this word serve the point, or does it just fill the space? If the answer is space, remove it. If you are ready to make your words mean something, drop this below. My words have weight. 2. When you rush your words, you tell the room you are afraid. Slow down and let them wait for you. There is a sound that anxiety makes. You have heard it your whole life, and you probably recognize it immediately when someone else is doing it. High-pitched, rapid, slightly breathless, words tumbling into each other without enough space between them. Sentences that end on an upward inflection, as though every statement is secretly a question waiting for approval. That sound is not neutral. It communicates something to everyone in the room before the content of the words even registers. It communicates that the speaker is not fully at ease, that they are aware on some level of the possibility that they might not be heard or accepted or respected. And that awareness, expressed through the tempo and tone of their voice, produces the very outcome they were afraid of. Because when you rush your words, you are not just speaking fast. You are making a confession. You are telling the room that somewhere inside you there is a fear that you will not be allowed to finish. A fear that what you are saying is not worth waiting for. A fear that the space you are taking up in this conversation has not truly been earned. And the room receives that confession whether you intended to send it or not. Because authority is not just in what you say, it is in how your body delivers it. The great philosopher Aristotle, who studied the art of persuasion and rhetoric more systematically than almost any thinker in history, understood that communication is never just words. He observed that the manner of a thing said is often more persuasive than the matter of it. The manner, the delivery, the tempo, the physical confidence with which a man occupies the space his voice creates. When you speak quickly, you are communicating urgency. And urgency, unless the situation genuinely calls for it, reads as insecurity. It reads as a man who is not sure he will be allowed to finish his sentence and so is racing to get everything out before someone cuts him off. A man who is not sure his words are worth waiting for. When you slow down, something entirely different happens, not just to how others perceive you, to how you perceive yourself. There is a physiological reality to the way tempo affects confidence. When you slow your speech, your breathing deepens. When your breathing deepens, your nervous system moves out of its alert state and into a calmer one. When your nervous system is calm, your thinking becomes clearer. When your thinking becomes clearer, your words become better. It is a cycle that compounds on itself. And you initiate the entire cycle by simply choosing to slow down. Speak from the chest, not the throat. This is not metaphor, this is physical instruction. The throat produces the high, tight, constricted sound of a man under pressure. The chest produces the full, grounded, resonant sound of a man who is at ease in his own body. Drop your voice. Not artificially, not by forcing a false deepness that does not belong to you, but by relaxing the tension in your throat and your jaw and your shoulders and allowing your voice to find its natural, full register. And then slow down, not to the point of being theatrical or strange, but to the point where your sentences have room to breathe, where your pauses are long enough to be felt, where the space between your words is not a void to be filled, but a deliberate part of the communication itself. A man who is not afraid to let his pauses land is a man who is not afraid of silence. And a man who is not afraid of silence is a man who does not need constant external validation to feel secure in what he is saying. That security is felt by everyone in the room. It does not need to be announced. It is communicated through every breath, every pause, every unhurried syllable. There is something else worth understanding here. People unconsciously mirror the emotional state of the person speaking to them. When you are calm, they become calmer. When you are rushed, they feel the subtle pressure of that rush and their walls go up. When you slow down, you are not just changing how you sound, you are changing the emotional temperature of the entire conversation. You are setting the atmosphere in the room. The next time you feel the urge to rush, remember what that urge is actually saying. It is saying you are afraid. And the moment you slow down, you are saying something different. You are saying, I am not afraid. I know what I am here to say, and I am willing to let you wait for it. Let them wait. You are worth it. Control your tempo, not because you are performing authority, but because you understand that how you deliver your words shapes what those words mean before anyone has consciously processed their content. If you are ready to speak like a man who knows he is worth waiting for, type this below. I speak with intention. 3. You are not listening. You are just waiting to talk. And everyone around you already knows it. Here is something most men will never admit out loud. Most of the time when they appear to be listening, they are not listening. They are waiting. Waiting for a gap in the conversation where they can insert what they already decided to say before the other person finished speaking. They are tracking the conversation just enough to know when their turn is coming, but not deeply enough to actually receive what is being communicated. And the person talking can feel it, not always consciously, but somewhere beneath the surface of the exchange, there is a recognition. This person is not really here with me, they are just waiting for me to finish. And that recognition, felt and rarely named, is the invisible wall that prevents most conversations from becoming anything more than two people taking turns making noise in the same room. Think about how that actually lands on the person speaking to you. They came to you with something real, a thought, a fear, a problem they have been carrying, and instead of receiving it, you were already preparing your response before they finished the sentence. Instead of being present with them, you were somewhere else in your own head building your reply. They felt that, and a part of them quietly closed. Real listening is one of the rarest and most powerful skills a man can develop, not because it is complicated, because it is genuinely uncomfortable for most men to practice. Real listening requires you to set aside your own agenda for the duration of someone else's speaking. It requires you to resist the impulse to formulate your response while they are still talking. It requires you to sit with ideas that challenge your own without immediately preparing to defend against them. It requires patience, genuine, active, disciplined patience. And most men mistake patience for passivity. They think that sitting quietly while someone else speaks is somehow a subordinate position, that listening means losing, that the man who talks more is the man who leads more. They are wrong, deeply wrong. The great philosopher Epictetus, who understood the architecture of a disciplined mind better than almost anyone, said something that every man in a leadership position should carry with him everywhere. He said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. 2 ears, 1 mouth. That is not an accident of anatomy. That is a design specification for how human communication is meant to work. And the men who honor that specification, who genuinely and deeply listen twice as much as they speak, build something in their relationships and their families and their communities that the men who talk constantly never achieve. They build trust. Because when you truly listen to a person, when you are fully present with them, when you receive what they are saying without immediately redirecting the conversation back to yourself, you give them something that is genuinely rare in the modern world. You give them the experience of being heard. Consider how rare that actually is. Think about the last time you spoke with someone and felt that they were completely, totally present with you. Not half present, not waiting, not distracted, but genuinely receiving every word you said and responding to what you actually meant rather than what they expected you to mean. That experience is uncommon enough that when it happens you remember it. You trust that person more afterward. You want to return to their presence. You would, if asked, follow them somewhere. That is what you build when you truly listen. But there is a deeper dimension to this law that goes beyond just making people feel good. When you listen, and I mean truly listen, not just for the words, but for the subtext beneath the words, for the fear behind the bravado, for the question hiding inside the statement, for the thing the person is circling but not quite saying, you gain access to information that the men who are waiting for their turn to talk never receive. You begin to understand the actual architecture of the room you are in, the real dynamics, the real tensions, the real needs that nobody is naming directly. And a man who understands the room before he tries to speak into it communicates with a precision and a relevance that makes everyone in the room feel as though he is speaking directly and specifically to them, because he is. Listen before you lead. Process before you speak. Understand the room before you try to change it. That is not passivity. That is the most active and the most powerful thing a man can do in any conversation. If you are building the rare character that comes from truly listening, claim this below. I listen to understand. 4. The conversation you keep avoiding is the one that could change everything. Say the hard thing before the silence becomes permanent. There is a particular kind of silence that is cowardice dressed as kindness. You know it when you feel it. It sits in your chest, heavy, familiar. It is the thing you did not say at the dinner table because you did not want to ruin the atmosphere. It is the conversation you kept postponing because the timing never felt quite right. It is the observation you swallowed because speaking it would have created friction, and friction felt like conflict, and conflict felt like something to be avoided at almost any cost. And so you said nothing, and the thing that needed to be addressed continued, and the people who needed to hear the truth continued without it. And the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, and that conversation you kept avoiding quietly became a wall between you and the people you were supposed to be leading, and you told yourself that you were being kind. But here is the honest question that silence never asks itself. Kind to whom? Kind to them, or kind to yourself? Because real kindness, the kind that actually serves the people you love and the communities you are responsible for, sometimes sounds nothing like comfort. Sometimes real kindness sounds like the conversation that nobody wanted to have, the observation that created friction, the truth that landed hard before it landed helpfully. The great ancient philosopher Socrates built his entire life and his entire legacy around a single and deeply uncomfortable practice. He said, "I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think." And the way he made them think was by refusing to let comfortable falsehoods go unchallenged, by asking the questions that exposed the contradictions, by speaking the thing that the room was quietly avoiding, by being willing to be unpopular in service of something more important than popularity. He was not reckless with his honesty. He was not brutal. He did not use truth as a weapon to wound people. He used it as a gift, even when it was unwelcome, because he understood that the truth a person refuses to hear is often the exact truth they most need. That is what a compass does. A compass does not tell you what you want to hear. It tells you where you actually are. And the difference between those two things, between where you want to be and where you actually are, is information that a person desperately needs and almost never voluntarily seeks out. Your family does not need you to make every moment comfortable. They need you to be the person who tells them the truth when the truth matters. The father who speaks honestly about what he sees happening with his children, even when the conversation is difficult. The son who addresses the pattern in the family that everyone has been quietly working around for years. The brother who says the thing that everyone else is thinking but nobody is willing to say out loud. Here is what nobody tells you about hard truths. The short-term cost of speaking them is real. There will be friction. There may be defensiveness. There may be a moment of silence that feels like it is breaking something fragile. But the long-term cost of withholding them is always higher. Always. The unspoken truth does not disappear. It goes underground. It festers. It builds pressure. It surfaces later in ways that are harder to address and harder to repair than the original conversation would have ever been. The conversation you keep avoiding is not getting easier with time. It is getting heavier. And one day you will look back and realize that the silence you thought was protecting everyone was the very thing that cost you the relationship. Say the hard thing now, while there is still time, while the door is still open, while the person in front of you can still receive it and grow from it, and thank you for it, even if not today, then someday, when they understand what you gave them. Speaking the hard truth is not aggression. It is not cruelty dressed up as honesty. The hard truth spoken with genuine care, with real love for the person receiving it, with the clear intention of serving them rather than punishing them, is one of the most profound forms of respect one human being can offer another. It says, "I believe you are strong enough to hear this." It says, "I respect you too much to protect you from information that belongs to you." It says, "I am willing to be uncomfortable so that you do not have to stay lost." And yes, your voice may shake. Yes, the moment may feel more fragile than you want it to feel. Yes, there may be a reaction that is difficult to sit with. Speak anyway, because a leader's job is not to say what is popular, it is to say what is necessary. And the men who are willing to say what is necessary consistently and with genuine care become the people their families and their communities cannot afford to lose. 5. If you cannot tell the difference between what you think and what you were told to think, you do not have a mind yet. You have a mirror. Look honestly at the last opinion you stated with confidence. Where did it come from? Did it come from your own reading, your own observation, your own experience of wrestling with a question until you arrived at something that genuinely felt true to you? Or did it come from a screen? From a video you watched this morning, or a post you scrolled past last night, or a voice you have been listening to long enough that their conclusions started feeling like your own? Most men, if they are honest, cannot clearly draw the line between what they actually think and what they have absorbed. And that inability to draw that line is one of the most quietly dangerous things about the modern world. Not because the ideas themselves are necessarily wrong, but because a man who cannot distinguish his own thinking from the thinking he has consumed is a man who is navigating his life with someone else's compass. He is making decisions based on frameworks that were built by other people for other purposes. He is speaking with conviction about conclusions he never personally arrived at. He is living in the deepest and most important sense someone else's life while believing it is his own. And here is the part that stings. When you speak from borrowed conviction, people can feel it. They may not be able to name it in the moment, but somewhere in the exchange there is a subtle recognition that the words are not fully inhabited, that the man speaking them is not entirely sure they belong to him, that there is a slight distance between the speaker and what is being spoken. That distance is the echo, and echoes do not lead, they repeat. The great philosopher René Descartes, who stripped everything back to its most fundamental foundation in search of what was actually true, said something that every man who wants to develop genuine authority should carry with him. He said, "I think, therefore I am." Not "I repeat, therefore I am." Not "I absorb and redistribute, therefore I am." Not "I share the conclusions of whoever last had my attention, therefore I am." I think. The act of original thinking, of genuinely and personally wrestling with ideas until you arrive at conclusions that belong to you, is not just an intellectual exercise. It is the foundation of identity. A man who thinks for himself knows who he is. A man who only echoes what he has heard from others is always on some level uncertain of who he is because his identity is borrowed rather than built. And that uncertainty expresses itself in everything. In the way he speaks with a slight tentativeness that comes from not being fully sure the words belong to him. In the way he holds his opinions firmly until challenged, and then suddenly with surprising flexibility because the conviction was never deeply rooted. In the way he lives, following paths that were pointed out to him rather than paths he chose through genuine reflection. Developing your own convictions is not a comfortable process. It requires reading beyond the sources that confirm what you already believe. It requires sitting with questions long enough to actually form your own answers, rather than reaching for the nearest available opinion. It requires the willingness to be wrong in your thinking as a necessary step toward being right. It requires genuine intellectual humility combined with genuine intellectual courage. The humility to acknowledge that your current thinking might be incomplete or mistaken. The courage to think it through anyway and arrive somewhere that is genuinely yours. Here is what that process actually looks like in practice. It means turning off the content for a while and sitting with your own thoughts, even when your own thoughts feel uncertain and incomplete. It means reading books that challenge your worldview, not just books that confirm it. It means asking yourself not just, what do I believe, but why do I believe it, and where did that belief actually come from, and does it hold up when I examine it honestly? It is uncomfortable work. Most men avoid it because the echo is easier. The echo gives you instant confidence, instant community, instant identity borrowed from whoever is broadcasting loudest at the moment. But borrowed identity collapses under pressure, and life will put you under pressure. When the moment comes that truly tests who you are, when the room is difficult and the stakes are real and the easy answer is the wrong one, the man with borrowed convictions folds, because he was never really holding anything, he was just reflecting. And when you speak from the place of genuine personal conviction built through your own study and your own struggle, something in the quality of your communication shifts permanently. There is a groundedness to it that cannot be faked and cannot be borrowed. People can feel the difference between a man who is reciting and a man who is expressing, between a man who is performing a position and a man who actually holds one, between an echo and an original voice. Be the original voice, not for the performance of individuality, but because your life, your relationships, your family, your community deserve to be led by a man who is genuinely present in his own thinking rather than a well-dressed relay station for someone else's ideas. Your thoughts are either yours or they belong to whoever last had your attention. Choose to make them yours. If you are done being an echo and ready to speak from your own conviction, type this below. My voice is my own. Authority is not found in the volume of your voice. It never was. Every man who ever tried to command a room through loudness alone eventually discovered what the room already knew. Volume is not authority. Volume is effort. And effort when it comes to presence and respect, and the kind of gravity that makes people genuinely listen, is the first sign that a man does not yet understand what authority actually is or where it actually comes from. Real authority is quieter than most men expect. It is the man who speaks one sentence and changes the entire direction of a conversation. It is the man whose silence in a tense moment does more to stabilize the room than anyone else's words. It is the man whose family knows without needing to be told that when he finally speaks on something important, what he says will have been considered and will be true and will be worth receiving. It is built over time, through consistent, deliberate practice of the 5 laws you just learned, through the economy of truth, making every word earn its place, choosing weight over noise and depth over volume, until the room learns to hold its breath before you speak, because they know something real is coming, through the control of tempo, refusing to rush, refusing to confess your fear through the speed of your words, slowing down until the room adjusts to you instead of you adjusting to the room, through the discipline of listening, actually hearing people, being the rare man in their life who receives what they say instead of just waiting for a gap to fill. Building the kind of trust that makes people willing to follow you somewhere they would not go alone. Through the courage of hard truth, saying the necessary thing instead of the comfortable thing. Being the compass when everyone else is being a cheerleader. Honoring the people around you enough to risk their temporary discomfort in service of their long-term growth. Through the integrity of original thought, doing the hard, quiet work of building a mind that belongs to you, so that when you speak, you are not reflecting someone else's light, but generating your own. These 5 laws are not 5 separate practices. They are 5 expressions of a single, underlying truth. Authority is not something you perform. It is something you become. And you become it the same way you become anything real and lasting. One choice at a time, one conversation at a time, one moment of choosing to be the man you were supposed to be rather than the man it was easier to remain. The great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who led the most powerful empire in the known world, said something that belongs at the center of everything this conversation has been about. He said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Not right, do not do it. Not true, do not say it." That is the entire foundation of everything you just learned, compressed into 2 sentences. A man whose actions are consistently right and whose words are consistently true does not need to manufacture authority. He does not need to raise his voice or fill silence or perform confidence or borrow opinions to sound more certain than he feels. His authority is simply the natural result of who he is and how he lives, and that is the kind that lasts, through change, through difficulty, through every season of life where the man who built something real continues to stand on what he built, while the man who only performed authority finds himself starting over again. Start today, not with a grand declaration, with one conversation where you speak less and mean more, with one moment where you slow down instead of rushing to fill the silence, with one instance of genuine listening instead of waiting for your turn, with one hard truth delivered with care instead of the comfortable silence that serves nobody, with one original thought that came from your own study rather than someone else's broadcast. One conversation. That is where every reputation that ever lasted began. And if you are ready to be the man who commands respect, not by demanding it, but by becoming someone the room cannot afford to ignore, leave the only word that matters right now. Command.